Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journeys from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformation. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. We are heard in 8 different countries, from Thailand, Indonesia, India, Norway, UK, Belgium, all the way, of course, to the United States. So thank you to everyone who is listening. I wouldn't have a show without you or the amazing guests that we have on here. So I want to thank you for your support. Today's guest is amazing and needs no introduction. Today's guest is Greg Reid. How are you?
I am always good.
That's great. Thank you for being on the show, and I'm super pumped for this. So today we're going to talk about a couple different things, but how you were always 3 feet from a breakthrough. So let's learn more about Greg Reid. Greg Reid is a best-selling author and world-class speaker. A master storyteller, Greg is a natural entrepreneur known for his giving spirit and knack for translating complicated situations into simple, digestible concepts. Greg S. Reid is the ideal keynote speaker for any event. His powerful topics, such as stickability and perseverance, success, adaptability, and turning ideas into reality, have inspired audiences for many years. A producer and writer, Greg is known for 3 Feet from Gold, Pass It On, and Wishman. Take a ride with Greg and experience, as he does, the wonders of the world and connections that life brings. Change your life and the lives of others. Determine what you need for success and become a champion. He has a must-attend event of the year called The Secret Knock. It is an amazing event that all the entrepreneurs need to go to. And if you want to know more about Greg Reid and what he does, go to Greg Reid, R-E-I-D, gregreid.com. And his event website is www.secretknock.co. Are you ready to get started?
You know, did you write that intro? That was pretty good. God, I wish I got to post that on my wall so my kid doesn't backtalk me so much. I like that.
No, I took a couple points that you had on your website in a couple different areas, and I worded it so it kind of flowed, and then put it up in the show notes. So that's how I did it.
You're gonna have to start writing my books for me, man. That was outstanding. So first of all, you know, so it's funny how birds of a feather. You know, you and I have mutual friends and run in the same circles, and yet here we are finally connecting. And I appreciate you giving me a little bit of time so I can come on and share with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. So the first question that we always ask on the show, which I think is the most important question that you could ever be asked, is why. So why do you do what you do now?
Well, that's an interesting question. I believe that I'm the least qualified guy to do what I do. I'm a very blessed, lucky guy, I guess. And it's kind of like, you know, how sometimes you find a career and other times they find you, and that's one of these circumstances. Sure. So back in the day, when I was 40 years old, I sold my first major corporation for millions of dollars, and people kept asking me how I did it. I said, I read these books. I went to these seminars. I did these events. And they asked me to speak, so I started doing it, and that led to a kid saying, you should write a book. And I go, man, I've never really, done that. That's an amazing concept. So I went and took his counsel and did it, and here we are 56 books later in 45 languages, all because of basically a dare. It's so funny how it works.
Wow. And I got to believe that, once you're on there, because really you're a performer, right, on stage, and you're connecting with the audience and everything, like, I know for me, it's just when I'm doing it, you know what I mean, I feel like my life has value, and I'm putting that onto the audience and everybody that comes to the events that I speak at.
Yeah, and my topic is real simple. It's about stickability. It's about the power to persevere and not quit. In fact, it's so funny. I don't share this a lot, but when I wrote my first book, The Millionaire Mentor, I was turned down by 268 publishers, agents, printers in a row. And the 269th one said, well, they go, we'll do your project. All we want you to do is change the title, the beginning, the middle, and the end. So I got one of these fancy ghostwriters who took my words and made them, actually sound decent, and it went on to become a mega worldwide bestseller, which started my whole campaign, which is interesting because people say, well, why didn't you quit after 50 rejections or 80 or 100 or 200? And I just wanted to see if everyone would tell me no. I thought it was interesting. I kept going, just going like, somebody's going to want to see this. And it was on the 169th one that actually bit. It's funny how it works.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I always believe, and I don't know, maybe I do this on blind faith, but I always got to believe that one no is one step closer to a yes, right? Like every no that you come across,
Yeah, it's true.
Because I don't want to give up.
Paul Meyer had a great quote. He says that your success is in direct proportion to your ability to withstand a no. And he says if you're willing to ask enough ladies out, eventually you'll get a date for the dance. And so for myself, I just kept going and kept going. And it became so comical that, I would take them literally, all my rejection letters, and I posted them all in my office. So my entire walls were covered with these rejection letters. And most people think that morbid, but it just was my incentive. And I kept going.
Awesome.
And it's so funny that a lot of the agents and a lot of the publishers that told me no are now the people that represent me and are publishing all my books.
Wow. That's amazing. So I'm curious, who was Greg Reid before? Let's go back. I think 10 years is good, right? So 10 years ago, or let's go just 17. Let's call it a round number. So in 2000, right? Who was Greg Reid before you got to this point?
Yeah, I'm just a regular cat. Like I said, I grew up in the mean streets of San Diego, California, right along the coastal waters in Del Mar. And the whole idea is that, for myself, I did advertising. So for 20 years, I only had one job from age 20 to 40, one job. And after I sold that business, I went on, like I said, to go into this. And those people who don't know my career, which don't feel bad because, like I said, I'm not very popular at home either, is real simple. My job is to travel the world to meet the most powerful and influential human beings alive today and tell their story in book and film. I literally have the greatest gig in the world. And so what I have an opportunity is go face-to-face, knees and knees with anyone on the planet. So, for example, the guy who invented the cellular phone to the gentleman who invented string theory, from the guy building the elevator to space to the gentleman who started NASCAR, I got to go hang out with these people to find out what they did, and that's what my full-time job is.
That's so cool. Got a lot of goals, it sounds like, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that, and, they're topics. A lot of times what we do is we pick a topic. You talked about 3 feet from gold, and that was from, the Bible of Personal Development, Think and Grow Rich, where R.U. Darby, aspiring gold miner, about 3 feet away from the largest strike in U.S. history, with the moral being how many times do people quit one class short from a degree or sales or marketing, and you got to persevere and go that 3 feet more, and don't quit before the miracle comes.
Yep, absolutely. Well said, well said. So looking back, can you pinpoint exactly what your transformation was and how you got to this point?
I never thought about it. I would say mentors is what it comes down to, is that a good mentor will tell you what you need to hear and not always what you want to hear. And I've got great mentors because they never tell me what I want to hear, so it works out great. And these people sit down and give it to me straight in the same way as I give it back to other people today. And so I surrounded myself with people that were getting the results you want. So when I wanted to become a best-selling author, I went to Barnes & Noble, and I bought every best-selling book. I read them, and I called those authors up and said, will you teach me? They're the ones who took me under their wing, and then I did what they did. When I wanted to become a public speaker, I went to Zig Ziglar and Brian Tracy and Les Brown and Troy Tremendous Jones and said, will you teach me? And they did. Same thing as just recently, I went to Africa and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I didn't ask some surfer here in Del Mar. They found the Sherpa that had climbed it 800 times and hired them. Wherever they put their boot print, I put my boot print, and that's what I do for success. I don't do anything original. My whole key is to surround yourself with people that are already getting the results I want and ask them for guidance and duplicate that success.
That is huge. Absolutely. I'm in a couple masterminds, and, when I first started this thing, a lot of them told me, it's like, find someone who is doing what you are doing already and at the level that you want to do it at, and then go after them and say, please teach me whatever it takes, and that's the way. And people, I think, respect those that do that rather than, well, I kind of want to do it, so can you, like you got to be dead on serious. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Into making it, I'm relentless in the pursuit of what sets my soul on fire. I set a goal last year. I said, okay, I'm building my speaker brand. I'm building this training and everything, and I want to be on a TED stage in 5 years. So this year, I launched my brand, launched a radio show, launched everything I'm doing, and I'm like, screw that, dude. 3 years. In 3 years, I will be a TEDx speaker. It's gonna happen. It's non-negotiable. I'm just relentless in the pursuit of what sets my soul on fire. And I feel like that's the attitude that you have to have.
Well, there you go. And it's surrounding yourself again with, look, here's the funny thing. When I wanted to become a published author, I didn't go to people who wrote books. I went to people who sold books. They're two different people, okay? So it's the same thing. It's like when you hang out with people that are speaking, I want to hang out with people that got paid to speak and make a career out of it. And so it's very important to understand if you want to be an artist, but you just hang out with other starving artists, you'll be the fifth, starving artist. But if you hang around people that are artists in the galleries and they're pulling them off the walls and they're selling them for $100,000, those are the people that I'd want to hang out with to find out what they're doing. So it's very important to make sure you get the right information in the right order, and then you can have whatever it is you desire.
Boom. I love it. And when you talk about mentors, when I go to speak at places, one of the things that I always talk about is if every major CEO has board meetings that talk about last quarter growth, this quarter growth, next quarter growth, last quarter sales, this quarter sales, there's all a theme. And every major company and every major CEO has these board meetings with these board members. Why are we not building that for our life? So I talk about is building out a board of directors in different areas of your life: personal development, professional development, wealth, finances, health. I didn't know this, but Tony Robbins has coaches. I was like, Tony Robbins is at the top, but he has coaches. It's like, no kidding. And so I talk about you have to build yourself a board of directors.
Correct. And it comes down to also, you hit something that's very interesting. It's okay to have multiple mentors. For example, my tennis instructor is a great mentor for my backhand, but I'm not going to ask that person about my financial, counsel. And then I'm not going to ask some, public speaker about my love life who's been divorced 5 times. So what I do is I seek people that are getting the results I want in each category, and then I ask them to guide me along the quest.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So during our transformation, because we're never the same as we were an hour ago. Every speech I learn something on every stage I go to, and every event planner that I meet, and every time I'm like this, like I'm learning I'm going to learn a ton of stuff from you, and I already have based on thoughts or things. That was amazing. So I got to ask you, what do you think was the best part? What sticks out for you? What was the best part about your transformation?
The journey. I mean, I'm still in it. The whole part about personal growth is the growth part. So, I mean, anyone that follows my videos or anything, I'll be very, very clear. For the last year and for another full year, I'm doing a project called the Wealth Hack. I'm interviewing people worth $100 million to $1 billion to find out exactly what they did to create a life of sustained abundance. So I'm traveling the world, meeting all these amazing people, and here's what I've discovered. Every single thing I've ever written about or spoken about wealth is wrong. And I'm strong enough in my career to say all I know is all I know. And what a lot of these people teach us is based on ignorance. And so when you start hanging out with these amazing people that are actually doing it, not the people that are teaching, hawking their stuff on wares to run in the back of the room. I'm talking about the real wealthy people. And you find out exactly their systems and strategies. It's a completely different mindset. It's a different thing than I ever knew in my lifetime. But again, I'm now on that journey. So to get what you want, surround yourself with people who are doing what you want.
Boom. I love that. I'm going to do that. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So, okay, on the flip side of that, what is the worst part? What do you think? What stands out for you? What was the worst part about your transformation?
Everything's part of the process, I guess. Let me see. The worst part would be, I would say, the traveling. Only the fact that I love to travel, but I hate to travel. Meaning that I hate the plane rides, but I love being there, right? So that's always kind of a challenge, no matter what it is. Sitting in airports. But I think that's a small price to pay to have a golden opportunity. It's so funny. I sit in airports so much. I spend my life in them. And I look at people and they get so upset and angry, and I'm looking at them going, man, what a great way of travel. I mean, my goodness. It's not like we have to do anything. We're going to sit in a seat, and that's our job. That's it. They do all the work. We just eat our meal and watch some TV, and we're there. So I have kind of a different attitude where I kind of appreciate all my downtime.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's true. You just sit on the plane, and they take you to where you got to go,
Yeah, it's not like
pretty
you got
simple.
Someone said the other day, they go, does that your public speaking and all that stuff, does it weigh on you? Is it hard? I go, let me ask you a question. I go, would you like a job where you get paid way exuberant amount of money for the effort that you do? And they go, yeah. And I go, would you like it that every day when you went into work, people actually listened to what you said and had appreciation for what your input was? And they go, of course. I go, would you like it that every day when you left work, everyone stood on their feet and they applaud you as you walked out of the office? They go, of course. I go, well, that's my job. I go, that's what I got going on. So I go, it's a pretty good gig.
Heck yeah. That's amazing. And
there it is.
I think what it was for me was, I get to bring value to people, and I get to see the turning point for me was those aha moments. You ever been on stage and you're speaking to them and you're having that conversation, and I'm not like a death by PowerPoint. Like, you ever gone to the speakers and click, click, click like the whole time? I like to have conversations, like a facilitated discussion. And I was doing that at an event a couple years ago, and somebody goes, oh, my God. And because of that moment, they were like, duh, and they got it. And I was like, I love this. It was just one person out of the crowd of, 100 and some odd that got what I was saying, that said, holy crap. And they understood, and then they implemented it and got results. I'm like, this is amazing. I got to do that for somebody. That's what drives what I do for me.
So for people listening to this, I'm going to drop the greatest knowledge bomb I've got along this career. The guy who invented superstring theory. If you ever watch The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon's always working on it.
Yes, I love that show.
I said, what's the difference between success and failure? And he said, successful people seek counsel where failures listen to opinion. And I said, what's the difference? He goes, opinion is based on ignorance, lack of knowledge, inexperience, like all your family friends who've never done what you're going to do. Counsel is based on wisdom, knowledge, mentorship. People pave the way. If you go to a family friend and say you're going to write a book, you out of it and tell you the reasons you'll fail because they've never done it before. That's their opinion.
Right.
If you go to Mark Victor Hansen, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, and say, I'm going to write a book, he'll say, before you get started, here's what you need to know, and give you counsel, a roadmap based on experience and wisdom. John Short said if we would spend our activity only seeking counsel and ignoring people's opinions, that's the day our life would change. So the secret is, where are you getting your information from? The people that are just talking about it, or the people who are actually accomplishing it in the field? You mentioned Secret Knock. It's so interesting. That's the whole concept. I got tired of going to events where you hear from coaches and teachers and mentors and people. And I said, why don't we just bring in the actual human being? So, for example, next month at our event, If you want to, start a nonprofit, well, we bring in the founder of Make-A-Wish Foundation. If you've got an invention, we bring in the guy who invented the credit card magnetic strip. If you're into cars, we're flying in Tonino Lamborghini, Mr. Lamborghini, in from Italy. We just bring in the actual person. So instead of learning from a coach or an author, we just bring in the person.
That's awesome. There you go. That's the way to do it. Man.
Counsel.
So when is your next event coming up for Secret Knack?
It's in 3 weeks. It's going to be up in Los Angeles. It's interesting. We sold this one out, hands down, 100% of them we've ever done. But this one sold out the quickest one we ever did. And I got to tell you, It's amazing people coming in. We have the weirdest event. You got to, you pay thousands of dollars to attend, but we won't tell you where it is or who will be there. and it sells out standing room every time. And the way we can do that is because the people that we bring are the very best in the world. And besides just the speakers, the attendees, the guests, they are the top of the top. So anyone that has ever had a desire to, separate themselves from the 95% who dream of success to the 5% who do it, go to secretknack.co and apply. You have to go through a whole, application process, but it's well worth it.
Awesome. Perfect. So we were talking about circles and having our board of directors for our lives in each of these areas. So tell me, who has been your biggest influencer through it all?
A gentleman who passed away named Charlie Tremendous Jones, and he said that you are the same today as you'll be in 5 years, except for two things: the people you meet and the books you read. In high school, if you hung around smokers, you're a smoker. If you hung around jocks, you're a jock. Same thing applies today. If you hang around people that complain, gripe, and moan, that becomes your conversation. If you hang around people that are positive and solution searching, then that becomes your conversation. It's very important to make sure you surround yourself with the people that you have respect for, not people you have influence over.
Love that. Yeah, when you mentioned high school, I just remember, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it probably is. So if you're hanging out with that crowd and they're doing the things and you're just, that's the perception. It sucks, but that's just reality. That's the way that people think, But I think, so there's a guy named Bix Bixen. Do you know who that is? Bix Bixen?
I do not.
So there's a guy named, so this guy is amazing. There's a guy, Christopher Lochhead. He has a podcast called Legends and Losers. And so he had him on as a guest, and I met Christopher Lochhead at Tim Rhodes' One Life Fully Lived conference. He's the founder of the organization One Life Fully Lived. And so I'm speaking at this conference, and I hear Christopher Lochhead talking about, category design and everything. And one of the things that man, Bix Bixen, said is that we normally live in the reality of someone else's thinking, and we need to break that cycle. I'm like, oh, my God, I fell out of my chair. I'm like, oh, my gosh. Like, how many times have we said, I really want to do this? And they're like, no, you can't. And you're like, you're probably right. And then you just don't do it,
all the time. And that's what I'm discovering, for example, on this wealth quest, is that everything that I've ever learned, I've been a pretty successful guy. I've always, lived the way I want to live and travel, and I drive the fanciest cars. But I've never been wealthy. I'm talking like $100 million to $1 billion. And these people do everything opposite of what we were taught or told. And I believe it's because, it's that top 1%, that keeps things a different way. But it'd be shocking when this book comes out and people find out the real truth behind it, because it's not that complicated. As soon as you start breaking it down, you almost stop yourself and go, you got to be kidding me. It's that easy. I'll give you an example. One person I met with, he's worth $700 million in raw land. Whoa. And I says, I go, how do you make $700 million in raw land? And he goes, time plus dirt is money. I says, what do you mean? He says, well, I find a town anywhere in the world that grows about 25% a year. He goes, go on Google Maps. You can find it growing anywhere 25. It doesn't make a difference where it's at. He goes, you find a town that's growing that much, and you find their main street. You take a piece of paper and a pencil, draw a line out 8 miles, and buy the dirt. He goes, you rent the dirt to farmers who pay the land lease on there, so it's free, and you get vegetables. As the town grows at 25%, within a few years, it ends up on your plot. Since you're on Main Street, you own the biggest amount of land, and that's what I sell to Costco or Walmart for 100 times what I paid.
Oh, my God. It is that simple. That's pretty smart.
Well, that's how all these are. And you're just going like, that's it, that's it, that's it. And once you start breaking it down, it's really amazing. And that's what this wealth hack book is going to be focusing on. I'm going to crack the code on every single industry and show you exactly how it works in the simplest layman term. So moving forward is really interesting about going on this journey. The big question is, who are we surrounding ourselves with? People listening to this saying, you know what, I want to hang out with these people, but they won't talk to me, or whatever story they're telling them. But understand this, the most successful people are also the most available people. If you're brand new at something, you're like you and I. You're happy-go-lucky, you're fresh, you're cool. If you're at the top, the pinnacle of your field, you're happy-go-lucky. You got nothing else to prove. If you're in the middle, pain in the neck. You're filled with ego. You're edging God out. You're finding your own voice. You're fighting your own way. So the secret, when you're a kid, you got in trouble for cutting to the front of the line. As an adult, that's what you do. You go right to the people who are doing what you want. Recently, I started making my first major feature film, and it's really interesting. What I did is, as soon as I got the rights to this project, I went to the guys who just won Oscars. I went to the people that are doing, I don't know anything about making movies, but I asked them how to do it. And by taking their counsel, starting August 14th, we're going to full production for my first big major feature. And you don't have to have all the answers. Just go to the people who are doing it.
That's awesome. And I saw the one Wishman. Is that with Frank Shankowitz, right?
That is the founder of Make-A-Wish. It's interesting.
Yep.
When I interviewed
He's going to be a guest on the show.
Excellent. Yeah, when I interviewed him for one of these books, I don't remember which name of it. I remember I was leaving, and I said, what was your wish? And he goes, what do you mean? I go, well, you're the founder of Make-A-Wish. What was your wish? What did you ask for? And he said, no one asked him. I says, are you serious? I go, whatever your wish is, I will grant it. I'll be your genie. And he says, I just want my story to be told so my grandkids know I did something cool. So I said, sign over your life rights. I'll make it into a movie. I just never made a movie. And he trusted me, and here we are, and now we're getting ready to go into full-blown production.
That is so awesome. That's a great story. It just shows me, just ask. And it's one of those things that, when I first started this show, I reached out to my inner circle, my immediate people, and I said, hey, would you like to do this? Would you like to be a guest? And, and one of them, my friend Beers Jahanian, was like, hey, man, you need to reach out to people, man. If you want these amazing guests that you keep talking about, like, I'd love to have this guy or this guy. He's like, reach out, ask them. And you're absolutely right. And even you're like, let's do it. I'm like, oh, my gosh, because I think there's like a what do you call it, like an aura that surrounds them where you think that you can't break through, like, oh, they're too popular for me, or they're too wealthy for me. They'll never talk to me, and you know what I mean? But here we are. If you have a goal, make a plan.
Okay, but understand this. Everyone's available. That's it. It's not complicated.
Yeah,
you don't have to plan. You kind of complicated it. Just pick up the friggin' phone, and you'll find in your local town that, you could have the biggest car dealer, and think they're important. I've never heard of that car dealer, so just pick them up and just say, hey, I would like to take you to lunch. Hey, I'd like to talk to you for a little while. You'd be shocked how successful and approachable people are. All right, moving on. What's the next question?
Who has been your biggest supporter?
I'd say my other mentor named David Corbin. Dave Corbin's a local San Diego guy who's been around since the very beginning. He's the guy who trained Brian Tracy and a lot of the greats. And he wrote a book a while ago called Illuminate. And he says that you've got to accentuate the positive, but you always have to illuminate the negative, meaning you can't just sweep it under the rug. And he says as soon as you put a spotlight on anything that's challenging, it goes away. A few years ago, I did a book, and I remember that on Amazon I had like 150 people tell me how wonderful it was, and one guy wrote a review, 1 star, and said, "It sucks." That was the review. And so I was so embarrassed, like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to see this and this whole bit. And then my mentor, Dave Corbett, says, no, go illuminate it. So I wrote an email to 37,000 people and said, hey, everyone, my book is out. It's a great success. 158 people love it. One guy says it sucks. Here's the link. What do you think? And not only did all my fans go take my side, but more importantly, it became a bestseller that day because of all the controversy around it.
Wow. Huh. Interesting. Huh. I like that. It's almost like it's called the spotlight effect, where if you highlight a problem, it becomes magnified, right? But you just did the opposite. You magnified that and made meaning out of, right, and flipped it around. I like that. That's a good skill to have.
Imagine if you have a first date with a girl and you've got a big old pimple on your nose. As soon as you walk up to the door, you say, hey, look I got Kilimanjaro right here on my noggin. Let's get this out of the way. Yep. And all of a sudden, it's done. I don't have to hide it. I don't have to run. I don't have to, whatever. It's already out. And that's what I realized. If you do the hardest thing first, the rest will be easy. So whatever is the biggest challenge around me, I always go at it head on to get rid of it right away.
Perfect. I like that. I'm going to write that down. That's good knowledge. So if you had to go back, is there something that you would ever change? Was there something that you would do different?
Everyone always does that little thing, and I wouldn't change a thing, blah, blah, blah. Heck yeah. I wouldn't have made probably half the mistakes I did. I'm not an idiot. That whole people that say, the mistakes make me who you am, whatever. I'd pass on them. So the whole concept is, I would turn back, and I probably would not have done some of the foolish things that I did, and I probably would have not done a couple of investments that went wayside that I did not see coming. So, of course. But you know what?
Yeah.
I don't complain about it, and I never talk about it, and I never look backwards. The realities are, it is what it is, and we are today.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's fascinating how many different answers you can get to just that one question. Like, if you had to go back, and you're right, people are like, oh, no, those mistakes made me who I am. And other people are like, oh, my gosh, there's a couple of things that I really regret doing. And it's all across the board. I think it's very fascinating, the different answers you get to that question. So another one I got is, what is the best resource that you found during your journey?
The best resource, you said?
Yep. What is the best resource? Is it, a book, a person?
Oh, I get it.
I understand. Experience? Yeah.
I just say people in general because, I collect friends. Some people collect, dolls or trophies or whatever. I just collect people. And so, my circle is an amazing circle of cool cats you can imagine. It's kind of like in high school. If you want to hang out with the cool kids section, well, I'm very fortunate that everyone around me is positive, solution searching, and they're the greatest assets that you could imagine. And the whole concept is I surround myself with the very best in their industry. So like right now I'm doing an Instagram campaign. I couldn't tell you two things about what an Instagram is, but this team are just rocking it right now. I had 215,000 likes on my post the other day, and they're doing all this amazing stuff because they know they're experts at their craft. And so what I do is surround myself with the very best people that are getting the results that I want.
Boom. Seems to be a recurring theme. Always ask. Always ask.
Yes.
So is there a certain person who gave you a resource that you used?
I'd say no right now. I mean, I seek these people out, and then, people come to me and they use the resources. I'm constantly learning and growing and seeking, amazing people. Again, the resource, look, we are exactly where we choose to be. It's a great quote, right?
Sure.
So for myself, anything that's going, haywire, all I do is I go, hey, I'm the one who brought that on. I'm the one who brought that person. How can I switch that individual out to get the results I want? It's never a negative. It's not angry. It's just more like, how do I move? Again, the whole thing about personal growth is growth, and it's progress, not perfection. I just constantly looking to improve and upgrade. That's it. It's like a game of cards. You don't want to hold on to that, that 3 and then the 4. What you want to do is keep trading until you got a full house, and that's what I do.
Absolutely. Man, that's a great way of looking at it. I like it. I like where your head's at. I like your style.
Yeah. It's definitely not complicated, is it?
No, absolutely not. It really isn't. Yeah, it's straight to the point. Got it. So here's the point of the show where we have a shameless plug. You can plug a friend, a quote, your website, products, movies, whatever. This is your time to shine. Go.
Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Anyone can walk into a Barnes & Noble bookstore and pick up one of the books, which would be absolutely appreciated. And like I said, people that think that they're ready to step up their game and associate with people that can literally elevate their life in a completely different fashion and do it from a place of giving and serving and being of benefit and contribution, I recommend you go to secretknack.co and do an application. Tell us, why you should come and what contributions you can bring to our circle, and see if we make a good fit. And I'd like to say thank you for having me on the show. And if there's anything I can do for you, just let me know.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That was
Champion!
Great. Perfect. So as we go through, can you right now deliver your best nugget of knowledge that will motivate, transcend, and inspire someone?
One of my favorite interviews came from a poet, a philosopher named Evander Holyfield, the boxing legend. And I said, why did you win more heavyweight championships than anyone else? And he says, I have a higher standard. I said, for sports, I showed up early, I left late, I invented exercises because I had a higher standard and I won more championships. He goes, where could you be in your own field and chosen field of endeavor if you had a higher standard? And I said, didn't it hurt being in a fight? He says, yeah, it hurts. But when you're in a fight, you don't focus on the blows. As soon as you focus on the pain, you end up on your back knocked out. But that's what people do outside the ring. They focus on gas prices, war, economy, and they wonder why they never become a champion. And he pulled me in tight. He says, you know what the funny thing is? Is when you do win the championship, he says, everyone comes to their feet and they chant your name. They raise your hand in victory, and the guy puts a big, shiny belt around your waist. And at that moment, at that second, you don't feel even one of the punches you took along the journey. But the guy in the losing locker room will have every bruise and every excuse for the rest of their life, wishing they had a higher standard.
Wow. Boom, mic drop. That's awesome. That's incredible. I like that.
Well, there you go. So again,
that's powerful.
How I can be
that's so powerful.
Thank you.
So I got one more question for you. Do you feel like, as of right now, and with speaking and an author, I know you're going to go into the movies and whatnot, but as a speaker, do you feel like your transformation is complete there, like you've mastered that?
Absolutely not. No, it's always a journey.
Okay.
It's always progress. So now it's a matter of, I can do it in my sleep, but I wouldn't say you mastered it. I'd just say that I've basically in control of it now. So before it controlled me, and now I control it, but I haven't mastered the craft. So the whole idea, though, is that I've pretty much done everything I wanted to do in the industry. I will say that. And I think now it's time to move on, because if you're going to master your craft in, literary, that you'd win a Pulitzer, or, you'd have the world's biggest #1 best-selling New York Times, or there's so many different ways to claim that. So I don't know if you'd ever really be there.
Perfect. All right. I like that. Yeah, I feel like we're always growing, and we're always kind of evolving, figuring out what worked, what didn't work, gaining tools into our toolkit, and and applying them where necessary, and we're always, gaining that experience, which I think is the most important tool that we could ever have.
I agree.
I was reading a book. I can't remember the book. But anyway, the book that I was reading, and it was about a cello player who's 90 years old, and somebody asked him, was like, "Why are you still playing? Like, what is the point of this? You've already mastered your skill. You've already mastered your craft. Why do it? Why continue to do it?" And I'm expecting, I was like, because he's passionate and he loves it, and he's like, "I feel like I'm just starting to get good." But he's been playing since he was 12. He's like, "I feel like I'm just starting to get good." I'm like, "What? Like what?" And so it goes on to talk about just that, just what you were saying. Like, in order to master it, you always evolve it. But once you feel like you've mastered it, learn something else that complements what you already possess. And it's just another layer. And you're just building layers of what you are, who you are. And at the end of my life, I want someone to say that, one, you inspired me not to give up. Like, you gave my life meaning. And secondly, your character speaks so loud about you that nobody can hear what's coming out of your mouth. That is my two epic badassery goals for my life, is to inspire so much that they don't give up, and that my character speaks so loud about me that no one ever hears anything that comes out of my mouth.
Well, you are definitely a rock star, and my goal is, I got to get off this because I got to go to my next meeting, but I just want to say thank you again for having me on, and you're a champion. If there's anything I can do to be of contribution, just reach out. The answer will be yes, all right?
Outstanding. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Life Transformation Radio listeners, this has been another amazing episode with amazing guests on Life Transformation Radio. As we close, remember to live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the values that you hold in your heart. I call it living your brand. Until next, have a great night.